Okay, welcome to today's tutorial. In this video, we'll be looking at the classification of the subkingdom Protozoa, its features and examples. So first of all, what are Protozoa? Protozoa are microscopic unicellular organisms found in aquatic environment and as endoparasites in the body of higher organisms. They are microscopic unicellular organisms found in aquatic environment and as endoparasites in the body of higher organisms. So by microscopic, we mean that these organisms cannot be seen with the naked eyes. They can only be seen with the aid of a microscope. Unicellular means these organisms are made up of one cell. And this group of organisms, they are found in the aquatic environment. Or you can find them as endoparasites in the body of higher organisms. So if you're asked, what are protozoa? Protozoa are simply microscopic unicellular organisms found in aquatic environments and as endoparasites in the body of higher organisms. And examples of protozoa are amoeba, paramecium, plasmodium, euglena, trypanosoma, giardia, and entamoeba. All these examples, they are microscopic unicellular organisms and they are found as endoparasites in the body of higher organisms or they are found in the aquatic environment. For example, amoeba paramecium, they are found in freshwater habitat. They are found in the aquatic environment. You can find them in freshwater habitat. Plasmodium, which is the parasite that causes malaria, is found as an endoparasite in the body of animals like humans. So Plasmodium is a parasite, and so it is found as an endoparasite in the body of higher organisms, of higher animals. Euglena is found in the aquatic environment. Trypanosoma is a parasite, and so it is found as an endoparasite in the body of animals. So having known all this, let's dash to the features of protozoa. The features of protozoa. So number one feature here is that protozoas are found in aquatic environment or as endoparasites in the body of higher organisms. This is one of the feature of protozoa. They are found in aquatic environment. You can find them in the aquatic environment just as I've mentioned, or you can find them as endoparasites in the body of higher organisms. Protozoa are unicellular and microscopic. They are unicellular means they are made up of one cell. Microscopic means that these organisms cannot be seen with the naked eye except with the aid of a microscope. Then protozoa exist at the cell level of organization of life. Basically, we have four levels of organization of life. We have the cell, the tissue, we have the organ, and then the system. So protozoa, they are found at the cell level. They exist at the cell level of organization of life. That is why they are unicellular. They are made of one cell. And that is why they are microscopic, because you cannot see a cell with your naked eye. So protozoas, they exist at the cell level of organization of life. Then also all symmetry are present. All symmetry are present in protozoa. In other words, a protozoa is radially symmetrical. So they have a radial symmetry. What that means that if, for example, this is a protozoa, if you take the line of symmetry from here, you can divide the protozoa into two equal halves. If you decide to take it from here, you can also divide the protozoa into two equal halves. So protozoa, they are radially symmetrical. All lines of symmetry are present in a protozoa. If you decide to take the line from here, you can also divide the protozoa into two equal halves. Unlike humans, humans are bilaterally symmetrical. That means you can only share a human being into two equal halves from one plane. In Protozoa, you can share it into equal halves from different planes. You can take the plane from here and also share the Protozoa into two equal halves, one this way, one this way. So all lines of symmetry are present in Protozoa. In other words, a Protozoa is radially symmetrical. It has radial symmetry. So this is very important. Then number 5 feature we're going to look at is that Protozoa, they move with the help of pseudopodia, cilia, or flagella. This is what they use for locomotion. These are the structures they use for locomotion. They use the pseudopodia, which is also called false feet. Pseudo means false. Podia means feet. So they use pseudopodia, cilia, or flagella for their locomotion. This is the structure they use for their locomotion. Okay, so the next feature we're going to look at now is the nutrition. How do protozoa feed? So protozoa can exhibit different forms of nutrition. They exhibit different forms of nutrition. Some of them can be autotrophic, some of them can be heterotrophic, and some of them are parasitic. So the autotrophic ones, they are able to produce their own food, and that is why they are called autotrophs. They exhibit the autotrophic mode of nutrition. Examples of such protozoa, they are protozoa like euglena. Then also we have chlamydomonas. So these protozoa, they can produce their own food, and that is why they are referred to as autotrophs. Autotrophs. They can produce their own food. That is why they are called autotrophs. They exhibit the autotrophic mode of nutrition. Autotrophic mode of nutrition is a type of nutrition in which an organism is capable of producing its own food. So euglena and chlamydomonas, they can produce their own food. And the reason why they are autotrophic is because they have chloroplast. They have chloroplast, and this is the structure that contains the chlorophyll that they use in producing their own food. Then also, protozoas can exhibit the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. And examples of such protozoa are amoeba and paramecium. These organisms cannot produce their own food, rather they depend on already prepared food. So heterotrophic mode of nutrition is a type of nutrition in which an organism depends on already prepared food. And the reason is because they do not have chloroplast or other structures they use in synthesizing their own food. So examples of heterotrophic protozoas are amoeba, paramecium. Then some protozoa are parasitic. And examples of such protozoa are trypanosome, plasmodium, or palinata. Trypanosome is the protozoa that causes sleeping sickness. It causes sleeping sickness. Then plasmodium is the protozoa that causes malaria. So these protozoa, they cannot produce their own food. Rather, they feed at the expense of their host. They are parasitic. They are found as endoparasites in the body of other organisms. So these are the modes of nutrition in protozoa. In protozoa, nutrition can be autotrophic, it can be heterotrophic, or it can be parasitic. Then, moving on, let's look at excretion. How do protozoa carry out their excretion? So they carry out excretion with the help of a contractile vacuole. This is the structure they use in carrying out their excretion. And also the contractile vacuole plays another role in what is called osmoregulation. Osmoregulation, which is the regulation of the salt and water content of within the cell of the protozoa. So this is the structure they use in carrying out osmoregulation. And also this is a structure they use in carrying out excretion. They use the contractile vacuole. Then respiration in protozoa is simply by simple diffusion. It's by simple diffusion. So let's take, for example, this is a protozoa. And like I said before, protozoas are found in two main environments. They are found in the aquatic environment, or they are found as endoparasites in the body of higher organisms. So let's say this is an aquatic protozoa, and this is the water body where it is found. So this is the water body. When protozoa wants to take in oxygen, the oxygen has already diffused in this water. So the diffuse organism will diffuse into the cell by simple diffusion. It will enter into the cell by simple diffusion. And after this oxygen has been used up for metabolic activities within the cell, carbon dioxide is produced, and that carbon dioxide will diffuse out of the cell into the surrounding environment, into the water surrounding the cell. So the process in which this carbon dioxide moves from within the cell into outside the cell is by simple diffusion. So therefore respiration in protozoa is by simple diffusion. Then also looking at its reproduction, it can be sexual or asexual. It can be sexual or asexual. So sexual reproduction in protozoa is simply by fusion of the gametes. It's by fusion of gametes. The male gamete fuses with the female gamete to form a zygote, and that zygote then develops into a cell, develops into another organism. So it is usually sexual reproduction is usually by fusion of gametes. Then asexual reproduction is by binary fission, and that simply means that, let's take for example, this is a cell, this is a protozoa. By binary fission, the cell is going to split into two. First of all, there will be a condensation. The content of the cell will condense, and then after condensation, the cell will split into two. That's binary fission. Then also, it can occur through multiple fission, in which, let's take for example, this is the cell. The entire content of the cell will condense. After condensation, it will split into different parts. It will fragment into different parts. And that is what is referred to as multiple fission. And each of the fragments will give rise to a new organism. This process is what is referred to as multiple fission. Then also it can be by budding. It can be by budding. And by budding, how do we mean? So let's take for example, this is a protozoa. When this protozoa wants to undergo budding, a new outgrowth will protrude out of the cell, and this protrusion can detach from the remaining cell. It can detach from this parent cell and then form another organism. So this process is what is referred to as budding. Budding. So asexual reproduction in protozoa can be by binary fission, it can be by multiple fission, or it can be by budding. So it is worthy to note that the most common form of asexual reproduction in protozoa is by binary fission. By binary fission. So having known all that, let's look at the classification of protozoa. So protozoa are classified into 7 phyla. Remember, protozoa is a subkingdom. So the subkingdom protozoa is classified into 7 phyla. We have Sarcomastigophora, Labyrinthomorpha, Apicomplexa, Myzozoa, Microspora, Acetospora, and Ciliophora. So these are the 7 phyla under the subkingdom protozoa. So you can use the acronym SLAMMAC to remember the 7 phyla. S is for Sarcomastigophora, L is for Labyrinthomorpha, A is for Apicomplexa, M is for Myzozoa, the other M is for Microspora, A is for Acetospora, and C is for Ciliophora. So these are the 7 phyla under the subkingdom protozoa.